Thank you, Alison. So, how many people at the Swartz Center right now? I cannot see anyone.
So we have 3 plus me, 4 in the Swartz Center so far.
Okay, good. So,
Okay.
so anytime please feel free to interrupt me when you have questions, because you don't have to wait until the end of the presentation. All right. So it's been 5 years since I made a presentation last time. This is a photo from my last presentation. So I really wanted to be there, but unfortunately I have some family issue in the morning, so I missed the flight, and I switched to remote presentation. So I just kind of found the Tepper used to be called GSIA, and I just found that I was covered in the CMU magazine, and at the time I had no idea if I would be an entrepreneur or even venture capitalist. But it's been almost 20 years since I graduated from Tepper school. So probably it might be a good to see my like a tango career, so that anyone can be an entrepreneur. Even you have a different background, and also if you are interested in being a like investor, it's also possible. So I actually I studied engineering at the college in Tokyo, but I then started working for a Nikkei newspaper, and being an editor covering high-tech companies. That time the such companies are called .com. So I interviewed so many .com founders, and in the end I was so impressed by so many founders. So instead of interviewing so many more founders, I just make a decision to come to a business school, so that I could be kind of mingle with more founders to be. And I also they started a business plan, which was the kind of mobile game platform, like like a Pokemon Go, but it was 2001. So I ended up I went to some pitch competitions, and I still remember one of the judge who is actually investor says my business plan was they're making use of mobile phone to making use of it as a map, and compete to find treasure in the real world. And but the judge says the Americans would never use cell phone for games, and hey, you Japanese probably can do it, but the Americans wouldn't do that. But the history shows the proves in 15 years the many even American people enjoy playing games. So even if you have the idea which the investors say it's not happening, or it's silly, you still can pursue, so that you can make it. So I then joined a small software company in San Francisco, and I spent 8 years, and finally we sold the company, and then I co-founded a few more companies, and made some angel investment, and decided to move to New York City. That was almost 10 years ago. So it's a really kind of not really kind of consistent, but I think if you have any idea which you really want to make it happen, feel don't be afraid. You have chance, you have many chances kind of making it happen. So right now, I co-founded Monozukuri Ventures, which is specialized in investing in hardware companies and manufacturing tech companies. And there, as I was introduced, I'm co-founder and invest in hardware companies, and based out from New York City. And before the COVID pandemic happened, I only invest in New York City companies and Pittsburgh companies, but now, anywhere, thanks to like some technology like a Zoom, so, even, I'm not physically in Pittsburgh, I can make a presentation to people in Pittsburgh as well as, the rest of the space. So really, make full use of such new technology to kind of make your dream come true. So today, I'm focused on talking about hardware startups and how to make it started, how to grow the company. But since time is so limited, I give you some idea how to get it started. So when I switched my career from software to hardware, that was almost 10 years ago. It is called hardware is hard, and today, probably it's easier to make hardware companies started, but still, hardware is harder than starting other company like software companies. That's still true. And not only starting a company, but the kind of funding, getting investment from investors are even harder. These guys are from Y Combinator. Probably all of you probably know, the Y Combinator is one of the best renowned business accelerator, based in California. But not only just the founder of Y Combinator program, but also Michael Siebel, who used to be CEO of Y Combinator. Both of them says, the hardware startups are not easy started even in the California Bay Area. The reason is, all the ecosystem there is so specialized to help software companies started. So hardware companies are not, for hardware companies, California is not ideal place from their point of view. So why? There should be more reasons, but I just kind of want to show three major things. One, hardware startups are more complex than software company. Number two, hardware company need more capital. And number three, hardware solutions are generally more expensive than software companies, so that you have less targeted customers in the market. So regarding complexity, you need to hire not only software engineers but also a different type of hardware engineers and the designers. So meaning that even your company is so small and you raise so little money, you probably need to hire more people. It doesn't have to be full-time employees, but you still need to have some contractor. You need to have some, the vendors and such and such and such. So, especially for first-time founders, the managing organization is not easy. So if you need to have this minimum software company, you probably need to have only software engineer and either business people, or even it is possible that the two co-founders are both software engineers. But if you want to have hardware company, you probably need to have kind of more different, the more diverse, the skill set needed to start a company. So that's why you need to manage kind of more complex organization. And also, if you need to manufacture a product, you need to also think about supply chains. You need to work with kind of more vendors, you need to hire manufacturers, and you need to have, a different kind of third parties you need to work with. So all these things, the complexity, the usually ends up with kind of more failures because managing such companies are more difficult than simple company. So number 2, capital intensity, it's very obvious. You need to have kind of more kind of overhead due to large organization. And you also need to have more capital for production of hardware products. If you are a software company, you probably need to have a contract with cloud computing, the companies such as Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and you usually have, some, free, free tier or the free you can make use of such the servers for a certain period of time or for certain usage. But if you need to manufacture a product, you need to procure components, everything, and you probably need to make some down payments to manufacture products on behalf of you. So that's the kind of capital intensity part. And number 3, from customers' point of view, the SaaS product, it's easy to start subscribing to it. Many services offer like a free and paid services, and even you don't get free services. Usually it's very cheap. Like you don't have to pay upfront, and you just kind of pay as you go, like $3 a month. But if you are a traditional hardware company, you usually charge the hardware for something like $100, $200, even $1,000. And even if you have associated kind of recurring revenues, even which is small, you usually can charge a pretty high amount in upfront, and usually that de-incentivize customers to start using that. So that's another kind of big, the burden for hardware companies. From investors' point of view, in general, software company is like has a more higher expected return. The biggest reason is very simple. Usually you need to have slightly kind of more seed investment if you run hardware company, and that makes a big difference from investors' point of view. If you would like to get like a 50% return and the company's exit value is assuming like $50 million, the only like a 1.5 versus $2.5 million for the seed investment. But if investors would like to get the same return ratio, you need to get a way higher ownership from the investment. This number, 28% versus 68%, this suggests, if you have, me as an investor making a $2.5 million investment, and if I get the same kind of the level of return of, from the software company, if you're a software company, the investor will get only 28% from the $1.5 million investment. But if you're a hardware company and we make an investment for 2.5, and I really want to have the same expected return, then I could say hey, I would like to get 60-80%, and which is the extraordinary high dilution from the company's point of view. So usually kind of investor wouldn't do it, but that means that the investors probably can prefer invest in software company rather than hardware company. So so as you probably understand, hardware companies are slightly kind of more difficult to start and run than software company. But there should be some solutions, and the environment and are changing, and I think from now on, hardware founders have more solutions, and also the industry are going to fix some of the issues I mentioned. I think number one thing when you are a founder and thinking about to start a company or growing your company, you probably think about to join a business accelerator. And there are so many business accelerators in the world. And I just counted a few years ago, even in New York City alone, more than 100. But I would say most of such accelerators, assuming most of the founders, startups joining the program are running software company. I joined some of the programs, not the kind of as a startup, but I kind of joined as an observer and look at some of the programs. And most of the programs are very general and seems like a very optimized for software companies. So, if you think about joining, there's some these are very well-known hardware accelerators and hardware incubators, and I think it's going to be a number one option for you to learn how to run hardware companies. So number one, HEX is a very famous hardware accelerating program, and it was started in Shenzhen, China, and a small office in San Francisco. But their San Francisco office has moved to Newark, New Jersey, and it's going to be a very big space. And also, they have history of 10 years, and I think the number of startup alumni is exceeding hundreds. So you will get pretty good benefit out from their resources. And if you are in Pittsburgh, Alpha Gear is probably number one choice. And I have worked with directors, the former directors and the directors today, and they are pretty good improving the program. So I really recommend to think about joining Alpha Gear if you are in Pittsburgh. There are some other hardware accelerating program. MHub is based in Chicago, and they started 2 years ago, but they secured a $50 million investment, the fund for investing in cohort companies. And also I went to next fab, which is in Philly-based company, Philly-based accelerator, and the new lab is in New York City. And these programs are still ongoing, and they have a big fab lab so that you can make use of fabrication machines and everything, as well as the professionals that help you make your prototype, everything. And yesterday I checked websites to see the best hardware accelerating program in 2023, and some pages had, and I checked some of the recommendations, and some recommended accelerators they are no longer having a program. So even if you search and find some accelerating programs, for instance, Highway 1 was pretty well known hardware accelerating program in San Francisco, but I think they stopped taking new startups 5-6 years ago, and quite a few hardware the accelerating program no longer exist. So if you are thinking about joining, but if you would like to know the latest information, feel free to ask. And also, when you're growing your companies, VCs investors are also very specialized. Many VCs, or partners from VCs do not have to have expertise or experience in hardware companies. So I have 35 portfolio companies, and I work with not only founders but the advisors, board members, the other investors, and investors who haven't had experience in hardware companies. These people have literally no idea how to kind of run hardware companies. So for instance, when you have a product roadmap, and software companies, you can create a new features every like a couple months. But if you are hardware companies, you need to schedule like 18 months or 24 months, or even 30 months from idea to like production. So if you are running company and thinking about raising for seed round or Series A, I recommend to think about having at least 1 or 2 investors who are good at hardware companies. I also recommend you to talk to other founders who also run hardware companies. And at Monozukuri Ventures, we have like a virtual meetup every couple of months, and usually kind of we bring some speaker or lecturer talking about something which is very interesting to hardware founders. And when such email happens, founders not only ask questions to speakers, but usually kind of end up talking to each other and helping to each other. And as I said, not so many hardware companies are in the market, so some issues or challenges hardware founders have, they can be solved only by hardware founders. So really recommend to talk to such fellow founders. And if you are thinking about joining the conference, there are so many like a startup conference, but I recommend for you to go to very specialized vertical conference, because then you will see so many kind of fellow founders and the potential business partners. The one idea is on-ramp manufacturing conference, which is hosted by Generator from Wisconsin, and each year, more than 300 hardware or manufacturing tech startups get together. So I haven't been there, but those who attend that says, it's a great opportunity to meet, not only investors, but the other companies, founders, and the business partners. And also, you as a founder, you probably need to have so many new things, especially raising money. I recommend you to take full advantage of shared knowledge in the industry. You probably know, Y Combinator's safe note, which is kind of a great way for you to raise money from angel investors. But there are some, like a wisdom of the crowds, which is like many people work on making the agreement or document better and better and better. And you can make use of such document as a template. And, it's a really kind of time saving, as well as, they keep you from, falling into the pitfalls. One thing I really want you to think about is, talk to many professionals to have either mentors or advisors. I kind of work with so many entrepreneurs, founders, and the very young startups, and companies who have some experienced advisors or executives. Usually these people understand what should be done next. So, each meeting, such companies have some progress, really kind of, sometimes really kind of, really kind of great progress. But companies who are only of, the first time founders, entrepreneurs, and no really kind of experienced people, such process is very slow. Sometimes, people, I had a meeting with such people, and next month, I ask what happened, with the thing we talked last time, and hey, I was not sure what should do, so I start searching and studying things, and but I didn't even get it started, and it's a really kind of waste of time. So the really kind of get someone who has some experience, so that you have shortcuts to kind of do things, because as I said, the hardware companies, you have kind of more things to do than software company, so you should take full advantage of someone's ideas, experience, etc. There are some the typical things you need to understand without such people. How to raise money, who to talk to when you have investment. What terms good for startups. There are so many things the concept, but you don't know what is the best for you. So don't stop and study but ask the senior people. So the last thing is as I said, hardware is really hard, but there are some new ideas, new things are going on. So I would like to introduce such things going on as a really kind of the last part of this presentation. Number one thing is the hardware as a service model. This chart is from Silicon Valley Bank's report, The State of Hardware as a Service, which was published last year. And this says, from 2017 to 2020, capital invested in hardware as a service companies are gradually growing, but 2021, it's almost doubled. So that means, like a software companies converted into software as a service company, in the industry, traditional hardware companies are being converted into hardware as a service company, or the company who adopt hardware as a service model succeed in raising more capital. And it's clear that in the long run, hardware as a service company is more sustainable. But at the same time, the hardware as a service company.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Could you go back to the last slide? I had a question about it real quick.
Okay, hold on. Oops.
I think that's the forward slide. It was the one on the breakdown. Yeah, that slide. So how do you think that that's going to change, first of all, with what's going on in banking? And second of all, how do you see the breakdown by sector evolving moving forward?
What the first question?
The first question was, SVB went down, Credit Suisse just got laymaned. How do you see that affecting kind of this in terms of capital invested, A? And then B, you have the sector breakdown 2021. How do you see that evolving, say, for 2023? What do you see changing?
Okay, so number one thing, it's a kind of report from Silicon Valley Bank. It's not the investment done by Silicon Valley Bank. So it's a industry trends. So I don't think it really kind of matters. It doesn't really matter, all the banking corruption happening right now, and this is investment. So this is investment from the venture capital and the investors as an equity, not debt investment. So I don't think the banking the situation alone wouldn't affect these trends, but actually the economy trends would affect this trends. So the point is, the 2022, the venture investment is getting almost kind of half compared to 2021, and it's declining. So this means that even if you the software as a service company, it's very difficult to raise money right now. So the trend is in general the investment is declining. So probably kind of 2023 investment in hardware as a service companies could be slowing down or even kind of lower than 2022 level. In terms of the industries, that's a 2021 number, and Silicon Valley Bank report says a big jump from 2020 to 2021 is one of the big one is actually kind of aerospace, and I think the hardware as a service model is more like a financial business model change, not the technology change. So customers, from customers' point of view, generally hardware as a service model is a pay as you go model. So you don't have to, pay a big initial cost. So it's easier for you to start using, the services. So I think, the overall, all the industry would kind of appreciate, this such adoption. And I think, the hardest part is hardware infrastructure and other things. If your business needs more capital, basically kind of the impact of failure is getting bigger. So, even though customers want to have hardware as a service model, the companies cannot have enough capital to adopt hardware service model when the company is, delivering services. So, so this, the sector contribution is more affected by the capital intensity of the business, not the adoption of the hardware service in the industry. Can I go on?
Yeah, thank you very much. That was a great answer. You can go on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So as I said, hardware service is a really kind of good solution for customers. But from startups point of view, you need to have more capital. So, this graph says, the hardware service, you get kind of less revenues and cash flows in the beginning, but at some point, it actually kind of cross over the traditional hardware business. And once you have more customers, you have more stable revenues over time. So usually kind of investors would like to see such gradual but stable revenues instead of traditional hardware sales model, which is if you have a great product, you have a great revenues, but next version is not that appealing, then all of a sudden you don't see kind of enough revenues for the business to be sustainable. So kind of in the long run, the hardware service is kind of more preferred way of doing business. But as I said, the most difficult thing is how to finance to make the hardware service model get started. The reason is, if you can sell hardware products to customers and you get like a 250, when you actually sell or deliver the product, you do not have to, your investment, for production will be easily covered. But, the hardware service model, you need to take like a few years to collect the money back. So you need to have more cash upfront. That's a really kind of challenging situation. But from the same report, the 2021, 2022, the hardware as a service model, the median of the round size, the hardware service is more preferred than traditional hardware, and actually kind of the hardware service model succeeded in raising more capital than software as a service model. It doesn't mean that the hardware service model is kind of more doing better, but the point is, even if the hardware service model needs more capital, if your business model is very solid, the investors are willing to put more money to make hardware service model get started and sustainable. So why the hardware service model was not popular? As I said, they are kind of more difficult to operate. They are more capital intensive, and also that's another important point. It's not easy to kind of operate all the things. You need to think, you need to consider the money for the production. You need to think about how to collect money. You need to see cash flow every week, every day, and also you need to deal with not only investors but potentially the financial services like a bank or other people. And usually you have more parameters. You have more chances to get failed. So these are the big reasons these many startup founders interested in making use of a hardware as a service, but many cases they end up giving up doing that because it's very kind of difficult. And this is some ideas when you think about the hardware service model, and you need to have some capital needed to start offering such services. There are so many financing options available in the market, but each one works very differently. And if you have only like founders and engineers, it's not that easy job. So this is one of the reasons why you need to have like advisors or experienced person who knows at least how to operate these things. So I think we are running out of time. So it's more like a wrapping up. So I explained how to start hardware companies, how to run, how to grow such companies. But when I have a first meeting or even second or third meeting with hardware founders, one thing I sometimes ask is, do you really need hardware product to solve the issues you are working on? The reason is basically startups, the reason why startups, the solutions are purchased, the reason is your solution will help customers solve their issues. But some cases, especially many hardware founders, who have a background of like engineering, I have the same background, so I really understand is I really want to kind of create this product. That's why I started a company. But the point is, especially hardware is very hard. So if you can solve your customers' issues without any hardware, or even making use of some hardware, but if it's off the shelf, like instead of making your own device, making use of something like a cell phone or the smart watches or anything that's available in the market, and if you can still solve the issue, you do not have to create your own hardware. Of course, once you succeed in making hardware which is very good to solve the issues, it's going to be a real barrier to entry. But we really want to lower the risk starting and getting the first customer. So I really want to ask this question all the time. And the second one, are you sure if your product is accepted by customers? And this is kind of the question when the startup says hey I have a great manufacturer, and if we make 1,000 instead of 100, we will get like a deep discount, or can lower the cost. But even if you can reduce the cost per product, if your product is not accepted by your customers, you have a risk, you cannot sell all the products. And that's a huge risk for hardware companies too. So instead of, hey, this is a great product, so let's make it 10,000. Instead, you even if you make use of slightly kind of more expensive solution, like a 3D printing or other things, you really need to be carefully delivering your products and get feedback, and you get some improvement through your feedback, the feedback you get. It also really kind of makes big impact on cash flow. And the last one is, especially founders who didn't get involved in any business operations, like you are postdoctoral degree, and you at the university, and you would like to start your business making use of your IPs from your kind of research. I really want you to deal with your customers, not your product, your research thesis. The reason is, as I said, what you need to do is solve customers' issues, not kind of pursue your product or research or technologies. And probably it's not only for hardware startup, but for everyone. But especially kind of people from the university, tend to have this, this issue. So I really want to highlight all these three things if you really want to start your own hardware company. I think that's it. And if you have some questions, feel free to ask now. And if you would like to contact me later, please feel free to send an email, or this is a Slack open community, where not only just a hardware hobbyist, but some of the portfolio companies we have also coming from time to time. So it's a great place to get acquainted with some hardware founders. I think we have several minutes left for Q&A.
Yeah, live here, we don't have any questions right now. Do we have any virtual? Okay, well, if nobody has any questions, thank you so much, Nob, for doing this. This was great.
It's my pleasure.
And if anybody wants to reach out to Nob, you have his email. So we will end the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Of course, thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right.
you. Okay, I'm going to end the meeting for all.
Thank you.